Walter's Sports Bar is a great place for the family to grab a bite to eat before going into the ballpark. $5 kids meals from 4 to 7 p.m. with the purchase of an adult meal. Walter's is located across the street from Nationals Park.
Now the pitch. Swinging a fly ball center field deep. Back goes Joey Wiemer. Way back. Warning track at the wall, and it is gone. Goodbye. Wiemer leaping, but couldn't get high enough as it clears the wall to the left of the 402 marker and just below the batter's eye hill. A 3-run homer for Elliot Ramos. We had said he had not hit one this year. He has now. RBIs 8, 9, and 10. And the Giants, last in the National League and the Major Leagues in home runs, hit their 10th of the year. And they lead by the score of 3-0. Check of the runner at first. And now the pitch on the way. Swung on, hit in the air to deep right field. Wood going back, way back. It is caught by, oh, it's over his glove off the wall. Almost a sensational catch. Rounding third, Chapman coming to the plate. He scores, and in at second with a booming double is Rafael Devers.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with Washington Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman of NatsJournal.com. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Mark is at Nationals Park, where the Nats have begun a 7-game homestand with a 10-5 loss to the San Francisco Giants at Nationals Park on Friday evening in Game 1 of a 3-game series. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 9-11, 8-5 on the road versus 1-6 at home. You know, the Nats came into this game having scored 107 runs over 19 games. The Giants came into this game having scored just 58 runs over 19 games, and yet the Nats on Friday evening got doubled up by the Giants, 10-5. The Nats offense, again, was good. The pitching, again, was bad. But this time, the starting pitching was really bad, as opposed to the relief pitching, which overall was pretty good. The Nats are a young team, but here are your ERAs for the two veterans in the starting pitching rotation. Miles Mikolas, 11.49. Zack Littell, 7.11. They have been the two worst starting pitchers for the Nats so far in this regular season. Littell on Friday evening struggled big time. 8 runs in 4 innings. He allowed 6 runs in the top of the second. The Nats now have a team ERA of 6.12, worst in the majors as of the taping of this episode late night on Friday night. Now, the creator, owner, and executive producer of this podcast, Tim Shovers, he, during the pregame press conference of Nats manager Blake Butera on Friday afternoon, asked Butera about the possibility of the Nats getting to 500. Butera downplayed that possibility, understandably so.
It's not anything. We're not like in there like, hey, let's get to 500 tonight. It's just like, hey, let's go play our best baseball. And
the Nats now are 2 games under 500. We'll see how sustainable the Nats' great offense is. But, you know, Mark, you think about this in terms of that Nats record. If the pitching was just so-so and not as bad as the pitching has been, what would we be talking about? I mean, we'd be talking about the record being a lot better than 2 games under 500.
100%, Al. I think we kind of knew coming in that the offense was more likely to be better than the pitching was. I don't know that we thought it was going to be this dramatic on both ends of that spectrum. I don't know that I thought the offense was going to be this good. And while I knew that the pitching was their bigger concern, I didn't think it would be this bad. I thought there would be a significant improvement from last year. And so far, aside from a handful of games and a little bit here and there, we just haven't seen that. And there have been too many of these games already where the starter is getting hit early and it just becomes a salvage operation instead of, he's hanging in there. He's pitching pretty well. It might get to the 6th inning. No, there have been some big innings early in some of these games lately against some of these starters. And that 2nd inning tonight against Zack Littell, that was pretty much the whole game right there.
Very disappointing what we're seeing from Zack Littell so far. You know, Miles Mikolas is one thing. He had struggled in recent seasons. Littell had been good over the last 2 seasons, but he so far here has been bad. Like I said, 8 runs in 4 innings. He gave up 11 hits, which were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 7 singles. He did have 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He threw a lot of strikes, 77 pitches, 50 strikes, 27 balls, but Littell per StatCast allowed 8 exit velocities, each of at least 99.6 miles per hour. He got hit really hard. Top of the second, allowed 6 runs on a home run, a double, 5 singles and a walk. He gave up 7 hits and a walk in that inning, which felt like it took forever. The homer, a 3-run homer by Elliot Ramos to center field on a 1-2 pitch for a 3-0 Giants lead. The homer winner projected 416 feet per Statcast. Balls were flying out of Nationals Park in this game, a combined 5 home runs, including a moonshot from James Wood. We'll get to that. But Littell gave up the homer to Ramos. Littell, top of the 4th, allowed 2 runs on a homer, a double, and a single. The homer, a leadoff homer by Drew Gilbert to right field for a 7-1 Giants lead. So again, the home run proving to be a problem for Zack Littell. But the problem right now with Littell, I mean, it's beyond the home run. Like, he is not good. And in this game, it was like batting practice with the Giants. They were whacking him around all over Nationals Park.
Yeah, look, I thought there had been some progress from start 1 to start 2 to start 3. We know the deal with him signing late. You kind of expected he might get off to a slow start. And I think we saw that, and I think his last start was probably the best of them so far. Well, this one was definitely a step in the wrong direction. As he described it, it was just too much right over the heart of the plate. You know, he's a guy he's not a big swing and miss guy. He's got to induce weak contact, and to do that, he's got to be able to hit the edges of the strike zone. He can't get away really with pitches over the heart of the plate, and there was too much of that in this game and got hit hard. He had an interesting quote, and in a way, I used a kind of phrase I'd never heard before. I'm going to share with you here about what's been going on. He says, "I've been in my own way here a little bit lately, worrying about delivery, worrying about stuff that's over the rubber instead of over the plate, and I just haven't made pitches." It's that phrase, worrying about stuff that's over the rubber instead of over the plate. My interpretation of that was that he's overthinking things, that he's standing there on the rubber getting ready to deliver his pitch and is trying to, in his own mind, whatever it is that he's thinking about, the mechanics of it, where he wants to throw it, whatever, and not just trusting that he can be effective, because he has been an effective big league pitcher for several years now. Maybe that's a better problem to have than like a real mechanical issue. The stuff has been normal by his standards. He might just be kind of getting in his own head a little bit right now and just needs to trust the fact that he can pitch at this level because he's obviously done it for a while.
Yeah, the old paralysis by analysis. I wonder how much of that is a function of him signing late and, you know, his preseason / exhibition season process not getting going until well into March. And if maybe that threw him off and the mechanics have gotten thrown off and he's still trying to adjust to that.
It absolutely could be the case. And I think there are very few examples over the years of pitchers in particular signing late and getting off to a good start. You hate to say it, but there's a reason that spring training is 6 weeks. You know, it's for the pitchers. It's not for the hitters. The pitchers are the ones who need it to build up. You get to make 5, 6 exhibition starts and not just build your arm up, but get a feel for everything, how your pitches are working. And to do that in an environment where there's no stakes at all. If you give up 5, 6, 7 runs, you can say, well, I was working on stuff. No big deal. If you have a good game, you can say, yeah, I felt good, but you know, it doesn't really count. So I'm not going to read too much into that. When you only get to make a handful of exhibition starts and then come into the season and it's go time, and he's faced some decent teams along the way, it's just hard to think that he really has a feel for everything right now. And I think they understood that coming in, that it might be a slow start for him. I would hope by now, though, start number 4, that would not really be an issue anymore. And maybe it's not. Maybe this was a bad night for him and has nothing to do with when he signed. But it's obviously a logical conclusion to draw because he just hasn't quite looked as sharp as you would think Zack Littell, when he's at his best, would be.
No, I mean, the only really good outing he's had was the 9-6 win over the St. Louis Cardinals at Nationals Park on April 6th. 1 run, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts. The other 3 outings, you know, they haven't all been bad, but they've been like so-so kind of meh at best. And then, of course, what happened on Friday evening, really bad. Just to be clear, when he talks about, you know, I'm worrying about things above the rubber, he hasn't been told to change things by the Nats, has he been? Like, that wasn't any kind of a shot at like Simon Matthews or Blake Butera of, hey, they're having me do things I'm not used to doing, and that's why I'm struggling right now.
I didn't interpret anything that way. And the way Blake Butera talked about him after the game, he kept saying, he's going to be fine. We know that he's going to be okay. You know, he'll get this stuff figured out. So no, I don't think it was anything along those lines. I think he's just kind of saying, and maybe it's a function of having gotten off to the late start. He's saying he's maybe thinking too much right now about whatever that is, his mechanics, his delivery, his location, trying to be pinpoint perfect, whatever that is, instead of just trusting that if you go out there and pitch the way you always have, that you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I don't know if him signing late is a function of his agent not doing a good job or overplaying the agent's hand. But we do know this, MLB free agency moves so slow, and you wonder if it does a disservice to these guys, and if things need to really change here, where there's no reason for a guy in Zack Littell, who's coming off back-to-back good seasons, to be signing with a team in the middle of March. That just doesn't make sense. That kind of thing does not happen in the NFL or in the NBA or in the NHL. And it's why does that happen in MLB? So again, it may be Littell / his agent, and maybe their fault that he signed late. We don't know. But if it isn't, you do have to say to yourself, is this good for the sport that a guy like this, 2 consecutive good seasons, signs in the middle of March and then is, by his own admission, a mess, at least mentally speaking, early in the regular season?
Well, I think the other part of that, too, is it's not just that he signed late, but he signed with the Washington Nationals for $7 million. He didn't get a multi-year deal. He didn't sign with a contender. I'm imagining, I don't know for a fact, but I'm imagining there just weren't that many great offers for him at that point for somebody who, as we said, has been a pretty quality pitcher. Lucas Giolito is still unemployed. And yeah, he's probably holding out for more than anybody's offering him right now, but that's a guy who has had some success. I know he's had arm trouble and maybe hasn't been totally consistent with his career, but that shouldn't happen. There should be more of a market for that. And I think what you may have is that tier of, we can call mid-range free agents. The top guys are going to get big offers because they know how valuable they are. And then often the less impressive ones are going to get offers because they're affordable and you can get them on a cheap 1-year deal. And sometimes these guys in the middle who understand they're better than the offers they're getting, and so they're waiting it out, and teams are just not believing that they are worth whatever it is that they're asking for. They're probably the ones that are getting left out of the shuffle a lot here. And it's not good for the sport because there are inferior people playing in the major leagues, pitchers in particular, than some of these guys who are not signing until late, if at all.
It's so strange, and we've talked about this before, but why free agency in MLB moves so slowly, whereas in the other major pro sports leagues in this country, you don't get anything close to that. You get the exact opposite of that. And I don't know if it's because those leagues have salary caps and this league does not, at least not yet, but it's really strange that it just, free agency starts, basically nothing happens for weeks, if not months. And then you have guys of, legitimate repute not signing until well into spring training.
Lovelady coming set. Bases loaded. No place to put him. 3-2 pitch is low, ball 4. Threw him a 3-2 breaking ball and missed low. So a bases loaded walk forces in a run. Elliot Ramos makes it a night with 4 RBIs, and the Giants now in double digits, lead at 10-5.
The Nats bullpen in this 10-5 loss to the Giants on Friday evening. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 2 runs in 5 innings. Overall, the bullpen did well, but of course, there's a larger issue here of it can't continue to be the case that the bullpen has to pitch, 5-6 innings, game in, game out, and that's kind of where we are right now. Paxton Schultz did a nice job. 1 run in 3 innings. Top of the 7th, gave up a 1-out solo homer by Casey Schmidt to left field for a 9-4 Giants lead. But overall, good job by Schultz. PJ Poulin was good. A perfect top of the 8th. We saw Richard Lovelady pitch. 1 run in 1 inning. Top of the 9th, allowed a run on 2 singles and 2 walks, which were back-to-back 2-out walks, so he's going to fit in just fine on this pitching staff. The Nats on Thursday morning announced having acquired Lovelady from the New York Mets in exchange for cash considerations, and the Nats on Friday afternoon, in announcing having activated Lovelady, announced having optioned reliever Orlando Ribalta to AAA Rochester. That might be the most interesting bullpen-related item with the Nats on Friday. You wrote about this on NatsJournal.com. Ribalta had a nice series in Pittsburgh. Why did he get optioned?
I think that was just predetermined. I think it had nothing to do with the way that he pitched. Obviously, on Thursday's game, he got the save, came into a big spot, really for the first time in his career, anything like that, and delivered for them. And reading between the lines, I think they already knew prior to that he was going to be the guy to go once they had acquired Lovelady earlier in the day. And so they actually did, it was a nice gesture, I suppose, on their part. Normally you're going to make that move. The game ends. You call them into the office and tell them, hey, we're sending you down. They didn't do that. They let him enjoy that moment. They gave him the game ball for his first career save. He flew home with them from Pittsburgh, and then he got to the ballpark on Friday, and that's when they informed him he was being sent down. And that's a tough conversation, of course, but especially after you pitched well. But I think they wanted him to at least get to enjoy those 24 hours, arguably the best of his career, to have that happen. I think this was really just about they wanted as many lefties in their bullpen. They got 4 of them in the bullpen right now. I think they wanted that for this homestand and felt like that was more valuable. And again, we're going to see this a lot. If you're a reliever and you have options, you're going to be on the shuttle back and forth to Rochester, and they're really going to try to assemble whatever relief corps they think gives them the best matchups for that particular opponent. I would not be shocked if we see another move before Saturday's game, because Paxton Schultz threw 48 pitches over 3 innings. He was effective, but he's not going to be available for several more days now. They might just say, okay, thanks, Paxton. You're headed to Rochester. We're bringing somebody else up who's available to pitch for us the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I wonder if we get to the point, maybe we're at the point already where these conversations actually aren't that hard, and this is just part of the norm. Like, this is a new normal if you are a Washington Nationals reliever. If you are a relief pitcher in the organization, like, you're used to this. You become almost desensitized to this of, oh, yeah, I got optioned. I'll be back. And Ribalta will be back. We know that, and it might be, sooner rather than later. But yeah, that was odd that he ended up being optioned like that. But like we said, the bullpen overall doing a good job in this game. But the rotation, someone has got to emerge here. This has been really rough. Foster Griffin, I think, overall has been good. The other 4 have been bad, okay? And bad to varying extents, but Cade Cavalli, Jake Irvin, Miles Michaelis, and Zack Littell, all bad. And at least a few of those guys have got to be better if this thing is going to be, on a different level here, to where at least the pitching isn't, like I said earlier, pitching to the tune of the worst ERA in MLB right now.
I think what stands out is how many of these, they're pitching behind the 8 ball. They're giving up early runs. The pitch count's getting driven up where early on, there's no chance they're even going to get to the 6th inning. And now it's just a salvage job to try to get through 5, or in this case, 4. You saw them pull Cavalli really quick the other day in Pittsburgh when his pitch count got up high. I think that's it more than anything. They need 1 or 2 of these guys to, not just retire the side in the first, but go 9 up, 9 down, or retire 9 out of 10, start the game. Get through 3 innings on 45 pitches or fewer, and now you've at least given yourself a chance to go deeper into the game. When you're already in the 40s after 2 innings, and when you're in the 70s by the 4th inning, you're just not going to be able to go that much further. And we know they aren't going to push guys way over 100. I think nobody's topped 100 pitches so far this season. So to me, that's what it is. Some earlier success, some quicker innings that at least give you the chance to go deeper in the game and maybe actually give them 6 innings and give the bullpen a break.
Well, the Nats offense in this 10-5 loss to the Giants at Nationals Park on Friday evening, pretty good. I mean, some nits to pick, I suppose. But, right now with this offense, I don't know how you're anything but very pleased. 5 runs, 8 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 5 singles, 3 walks. The Nats did go 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, but a moonshot of a home run from James Wood. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, 1 for 5 with a solo homer. Wood in the Nats 1-run 7th, leadoff, opposite field home run to left center field to cut the Nats deficit to 9-5. The homer went a projected 441 feet per StatCast, and as the Nats announced during the game, was the longest opposite field homer in an MLB regular season game since a 452-foot opposite field home run. This by the Colorado Rockies' Nolan Jones on September 13th, 2023.
Here's the pitch. Swing is driven in the air. Deep left center field. Chasing this one back. Ramos, he's got no chance. It is long gone.
It's impressive enough to hit a homer 441 feet when you pull the ball. When you hit a home run 441 feet in opposite field fashion, that is impressive. What a shot by James Wood.
And, oh, by the way, off a lefty to do that. The Nolan Jones home run, obviously at Coors Field, so a little bit of an asterisk there. That would maybe make this one more impressive. And props to my colleague Spencer Nussbaum of The Athletic, who tried to look up how many other left-handed hitters have hit a home run 441 feet off a left-handed pitcher. And the only other one he could find in recent years was a guy named Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani and James Wood, and then this guy Nolan Jones at Coors Field. That's it. I think sometimes we tend to forget just how remarkable James Wood is at such a young age, and that he does it in a way that so few others can do. Opposite field, not wall scrapers, but Titanic blasts versus a lefty, versus a righty. It doesn't matter. His swing is remarkable. His power is remarkable. And I think we just need to sit back and appreciate what we're watching here, because this is special.
Better opposite field power for a Nationals hitter, James Wood or Juan Soto? Can we have that conversation? Is that a compare and contrast we can do, or is it still too early to do that compare and contrast?
There are a lot of similarities there, and I remember thinking right from the start when Wood got here and you saw everything he hit was a line drive to left center field. Soto's one of the only others who does that as consistently and did it right from the start when he reached the big leagues. There are definite comparisons there. I would say Soto, less strikeouts early on, more of a, gave so few at-bats away in the course of a game and over the course of a season. I think James Wood is still figuring that part of it out, but that's not a knock on him at all. That's just how remarkable Juan Soto is, who I think we all agree at this point, barring major collapses, on a Hall of Fame track. James Wood could get there too, but he's got more to prove and has a lot longer time still to prove that. Wood
now tied with C.J. Abrams for the team lead in home runs, each with 6. Your James Wood OPS now at 909. Abrams OPS is at 1151.
The 1-0. Swinging a fly ball, well hit right center field. Back on this one, the center fielder Gilbert to the wall. He's out of room, and there it goes. It's Daylen Lile's first home run of the season over the center field wall near the 402 mark. That'll cut the Giants' lead to 8-3.
Also homering for the Nats in this game, Daylen Lile, his first home run of this regular season. Lile, as the Nats starting left fielder and number 6 batter, 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer and a walk. He and the Nats 2-run fourth had a 2-run homer to center field to cut the Nats lead to 8-3. That homer went a projected 418 feet per Statcast. We have not talked much about Daylen Lile, who of course performed like a superstar last September. Lile's OPS now at 691. He hasn't been doing that well. He's had his moments, but, the OPS tells the story. Like, it just hasn't been that good. Certainly not on the level he was at in September, but good to see him finally get a homer. And you asked Blake Butera during the postgame press conference about Lile finally getting a homer, and I would think that felt good for Daylen Lile to finally get that home run.
Yeah, and as Butera said, he finally saw a smile on Lyle's face.
Yeah, you saw him finally smile when he was coming into the dugout, which is good. He's hard on himself. He expects a lot of himself. He wants to produce for the team.
He can get down on himself a lot, and Daylen admitted that as well when we interviewed him afterwards. Felt like he hasn't held up his end of the bargain so far. And again, that's a remarkable thing because he's such a young guy. Had really a remarkable rookie season, the last half of that season. And not to say that he can't continue to be that guy, but it didn't mean that you had to just expect that was going to be the case from day one. I think the one thing that stands out from him so far, he's got 5 doubles, but he has not yet tripled. We know that was such a huge part of his game last year, and then he hadn't homered yet. But if you look back to last year, it took him a little while to get the home runs to fall. He was hitting the ball hard and just not quite getting enough of it. So maybe this is the one that gets him going. This was a no-doubter, straightaway center field. I think it almost hit the bullpen cart stationed out there behind the fence. And you saw that smile from Daylen Lile. He is, when he's going well, a fun player, an energetic player. We haven't quite seen that emotion from him yet. And I think he feels like, as good as the lineup as a whole has been, he hasn't held up his end of the bargain. Maybe this is the start of that for him.
And also in this game was Jose Tena with a 3-hit performance. He is an starting DH and number 8 batter, 3 for 4 with a double, an RBI single, and another single. Tena in the Nats 1-run 6, a 2-out RBI single up the middle on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 8-4. This might surprise some people. Jose Tena's on-base percentage is .394. He's not hitting for much power, but he's actually getting on base. And, when you talk about the potential for the offense to, as the saying goes, regress to the mean, a guy like Jose Tena maybe comes to mind. .394 on base. Like, is he going to continue to produce at that clip? But so far, so good. He's done a nice job in his playing opportunities in terms of getting on base.
Yeah, it's been all singles. He finally had his first extra base hit in this game, the double. Otherwise, his slugging percentage was identical to his batting average, which is not typically what you want to see, but he's been good contact, good singles hitter. I mean, he's DH'd for them a lot. I didn't even realize this until the other day. He came in late in that blowout game in Pittsburgh to play left field, a position he's never played before in the big leagues. That was actually his first appearance in the field this season. He's only been the DH or a pinch hitter. Now, we know defensively is not his strong point there, but they really have only used him as a hitter. This is the guy, remember, when they traded for Jorge Bibas, we all just assumed that was the end of the road for Jose Tena, and here we are 20 games into the season. He has been on the roster. He is playing a decent amount, probably less than a lot of the others, but they are looking at him and saying, you do one thing well, and that's get hits. And so we're going to try to put you in a position to do that as much as possible, keep you out of the field, not expect a lot of power from you. And, he's held up his end of the bargain. That's been a nice thing to see. Long term, you'd like to have a little bit more slugging power potential from your DH. But for now, he's probably the best they've gotten. And he's done a nice job under the circumstances.
This extreme home road split for the Nats, 1-6 at home versus 8-5 on the road. Blake Butera got asked about it during his post-game press conference.
I just think it's a weird coincidence. I don't know. I really don't know. We want to play well here. We want to win here. We don't want to just be a team that plays well on the road. It's fun playing here at our home park in front of our crowd and our fans.
I mean, first of all, it's early. We get that. So this could change. Second of all, I don't know how you look at this and say like, oh, they get more nervous at home and they relax on the road. Like, I don't think that's what this is, but it is strange. I mean, no team in the majors has more road wins than the Nats have. Like, they've been one of the best road teams in baseball, but have been really bad at home. We've seen this kind of thing before. The Nats historically have done this, right? Better on the road, or at least good on the road and not nearly as good as at home as you might think. That's been a postseason thing with this team especially. What do you make of that? 8-5 on the road versus 1-6 at home.
I don't make too much of it as we're just talking about this season. And, whatever they did in the past, we know this is an incredibly different team and organization now than it was before. So I don't know that it's really fair to make any comparisons to things that happened prior to 2026. What I would say is they faced the Dodgers and got swept by them. That's got to be a big part of the equation. They also had at least one other Miles Michaelis start mixed in there against the Cardinals. That did not go well. And they had a couple of bullpen meltdowns of games they should have won and didn't. I think you look at individually how the games have gone and you can see why they have that record. I don't think there's really much of anything to interpret. I would choose to look at it this way. I think being good on the road means more than being bad at home. I think being bad at home is kind of a flukish thing. Being good on the road against some good teams, I think you can take more out of that and see that they have in a lot of those games really battled their way back, played tough in the late innings and found a way to convert at the end. I'm going to read more into that than I am the fact that they have been, obviously awful at home this year because, again, they faced the Dodgers and several of the other losses came as a result of bullpen meltdowns that probably should never have happened.
Game 2 for the Nats against the Giants Saturday afternoon at 4:05. Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher. And, not to overhype an April start for him, but he needs to pitch better in this game. Like, how he does matters so much more than how any other Nats starting pitcher does right now. And so you want to especially see him do well. You want to see him be more pitch efficient. You want to see him eat up innings. So I think this is going to be the storyline for Saturday, what we get from Cade Cavalli.
We talked about Zack Littell and what's maybe going through his head as he's trying not to overthink things. I think that's number one topic for Cade Cavalli. His last start, he was all over the place, not throwing strikes. And even at his best so far this year, he's gotten himself into trouble with a lot of runners on base. If it's me, I am pounding in his head the idea of go out there and throw strikes. The Giants, I know they had a big game on Friday night, but they are one of the worst hitting teams in baseball so far. If you have Cavalli's stuff, unlike Zack Littell, who can't get away with stuff over the plate, Cade Cavalli should be able to do that. Throw strikes, don't fall behind in the count. Don't give them free passes. Keep the pitch count down. Give yourself a chance to go deeper in the game. I think that's the message for him going into this one. I know they're all big league teams and anybody can do anything on any given night, but I would hope that there's even more incentive for him to just throw strikes against the Giants than he might even against other teams.
You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show too, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. We get so many great emails. We love reading them and hearing what you guys have to say about what's happening with the Nats. Also, we have a website at which you can purchase a Nats Chat Podcast t-shirt. That website is natschatpodcast.com, and we appreciate the support very much. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Here's the pitch. Swing is driven in the air, deep left center field. Chasing this one back, Ramos. He's got no chance. It is long gone. James Wood goes opposite field for his 6th homer of the year. This one off the lefty. That makes it 9-5 Giants.